Year 10 Trigonometry Exam Practice Question 25. A tower stands at point T on flat ground. From point X on the ground, the angle of elevation to the top of the tower A is 54 degrees. At point Y on the ground, in the same straight line as X and T, and 25 meters beyond X, the angle of elevation to the top of the tower is 28 degrees. So the first part is we need to draw a labeled diagram. So let's start off. The first part of the information says that we've got a tower that stands at point T on flat ground. So we've got flat ground right here, and I will put point T right here. The next part it says is that we've got a tower there. So we need to straight away put a tower at point T. Then it says from point X on the ground. So I'll make point X right here. There's an angle of elevation to the top of the tower. And that says it is 54 degrees. So we've got 54 degrees right here. Now the next part it says is at point Y on the ground. So again, going to have another point, but this time it is Y. And that is going directly towards the top to our next part. Now it says at point Y on the ground in the same straight line as X to T. And it's 25 meters beyond X. So I know from here, from Y to X, it's going to be 25 meters. So the next thing we need to do is I'm just going to finish labeling. So the top of my tower is A. Second part of question 8 says label the height of the tower AT as H. So we need to make sure we label it as H. Then it says, and the ground distance of X to T is D. So this distance from here all the way through to T is our D. Now we've got it labeled, we can then go on. It says calculate the value of H and D. Now, this is the more challenging part and takes a bit of time. So we need to look at all the relationships we have. So over here, I can see that we have a tan relationship between H and D, and a tan relationship between H and my 25 and D. So I'm going to use those two relationships. So I'll start off with the following. So I've got my tan of 54 degrees is equal to my D, so my H, and it is over D. That's what we know, because the opposite over adjacent. Likewise, with my next relationship, I've got tan. Now this time here, this relationship is 28 degrees. I forgot to put that in. So we've got tan 28 degrees is going to be equal to our opposite, which is my height, over, now this is the part that's a bit tricky, is 25 meters plus D. So now we've got our two relationships. We want to get H by itself. So in that case here, we times both sides by our denominator. That gives me on my left-hand side, D tan 54 is equal to H. Likewise on my right, I times both sides by 25D. So 25 plus D in brackets is timesing with tan 28, and that equals H. That allows me to see the relationship between both of them, and it means I can say that they are both equal each other. D tan 54 is equal to 25 plus D in brackets tan 28. Now the next thing that I need to do is I need to get d by itself. So the first thing I need to do is expand these brackets on my right hand side. So to do that, that's just meaning that 25 is timesing with tan 28. So I've got 25 tan 28, and d is timesing with tan 28. Now that I've done that, I can get my d's onto one side. So I need to take away d tan 28 from both sides. If I do that, I'm left on my left-hand side, d tan 54, take away d tan 28. And that is equal to what's left over there, which is 25 tan 28. I need to then factor out my d. So I've only got one d. So I'm left with tan 54 in the brackets minus tan 28. And that is equal to 25 tan 28. Now we are almost got d by itself. Now, right now we've got d timesing something, but we want d by itself. So to do that, we need to think, how do I get it onto the other side? We need to do the opposite of times, which is divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by tan 54, take away tan 28. Now that I've done that, I've got d by itself, and I can finally solve this. So this shows me that my d is equal to 15.7737. Now I found my d value, I can find my h value. Because we've got 54 degrees, we know our d now, and I've just got one I don't know. So this is our tan relationship. So that means I've got tan 54 degrees is equal to my h. I don't know what my h is. What I do know is my d, and my d is 15.77. Again, to get h by itself, I times both sides by 15.77. It cancels it out on the right hand side, leaving just h. The final thing is I solve it, and it tells me that my h is worth 21.71 meters.